Shogun's my name, wafflin's my game. So today, I'm going to be eating some of my past statements about white women, okay? And in turn, I'm also going to show you how race has nothing to do with how ill-behaved women can be. Because the strongest correlation is welfare, not race. So for those of you who don't know, for the longest time I've trash-talked white women for being the most feministic and having the highest divorce rates in the world, especially in Europe. And in response, many of you would immediately say that black women are no better, if not worse, based on attitude, when in fact I never said they were any better to begin with. Now, if that's you, please don't be a woman and start mentally editing and or adding words or meanings to my statements like that. It's really getting old, okay? Realistically speaking, no race of women is better than the other in any regard whatsoever. And I have the stats to prove it too. So hopefully we can put this myth about white women being better than black women to bed once and for all in one video. So let's start with the ethnicity of women that the vast majority of us already agree upon, black women, okay? In current times, the divorce rate among black people is 70%, and it's been going up since the late 1960s. But, to our surprise, up until the late 1960s, black women were more likely to be married than white women were. So, as you can see, black women were actually much better marriage material back then, as opposed to the extremely ratchet BT1000s everyone likes to call them today. And no, I'm not saying or even hinting that they were better than white women. Don't even go there, okay? And of course, what happened in the late 1960s? Yep, you guessed it. Feminism, abortion, and the beginning of the welfare state. And now with that out the way, let's take a quick look at the most privileged class, who happens to be the most white-knighted for, I might add, white women. Predominantly white countries are often known to have the highest divorce rates in the world. But let's look at Belgium in particular, because the divorce rate in Belgium was at one point 71%, which is the highest in the entire world. So Belgium is known for having one of the most generous welfare states in the entire world. And yet I'm told that Belgian women are some of the most insufferable cunts. Need some good examples of that? Okay, let's take a look at Femen. Now, Femen is a highly radical, very vocal, and sometimes violent sect of feminism. And Belgian members of the Femen have been known to assault their own prime minister, disrupt government speeches and everything. And of course, Femen and their atrocities are known all throughout Europe too, so it's not just Belgians. But more importantly, most countries with generous welfare states tend to have higher divorce rates because when their women are less dependent on their men and turn to the government instead, they're more likely to throw their own men under the bus. It's like children disrespecting their parents, knowing that they can call Child Protective Services on them at any time, for any reason, in any place. So for those of you who might want to bring up Greece as an exception, which also has a very generous welfare state, they only have a lower divorce rate because men are refusing to marry in droves now that men are waking up to gynocentrism involved in the marriage. On top of that, TFM and I had already covered an article on the 420 show where prostitutes were upset with the men because men didn't want to spend their money on them because they didn't really have money to be spending on prostitutes. And when men start going broke, chances are they're not going to be getting married because the women aren't going to be looking to marry broke men, are they? Now, to circle things back a bit, welfare dependency and single motherhood is on the rise in both black and white communities. And the ratchet white women with the same, if not worse than filthy attitudes compared to black women are also on the rise. I see it all the time, and I hope you guys aren't pretending like you don't see it either. And with that being said, there isn't exactly a whole lot else to say about this. But, in case you're wondering, are there any other examples showing the same correlation? Yes, there are. Let's take a look at Native Americans. Lo and behold, their divorce rates are actually slightly worse than black people's. And we all know the sad but true stereotype about Native Americans and welfare, especially when it comes to like the Native American reservations and whatnot. And the welfare is destroying them too. But since the horse has already been beaten to death by TFM many times on the show, I won't bother getting further into this, okay? So the point of the video is this. When you A, have a lack of patriarchy, B, feminism, C, a generous welfare state, and D, abortion, you're going to get unmarriageable women all over, complete with loudmouth, high domestic violence rates, as well as low birth rates. Black, white, red, or yellow, it doesn't matter. The problem isn't race. The problem isn't women themselves. The problem is welfare and the lack of patriarchy. If you fix that, then all of these problems will eventually start to correct themselves. And there you have it, another myth busted. So, this is Aeroshogun, and I will see you next time, okay?